Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Canadians Abroad. I'm your host for today, Josh Deming. I will be joined by my colleague, Alex Gangue-Ruzic, and we'll be discussing some Canadians who could be making some big transfers this summer, as well as an incredible story that talks about how Dayne St. Clair helped recruit Zach McGraw to the Canadians national team. So hopefully you guys are excited for the episode, and if you are, let's get into it now. Alex, there's only one place to start today, and that is with Jonathan David. We know he's been linked to numerous clubs in the past. We usually get a tweet from Fabrizio Romano that says something along the lines of, many clubs interested, no bids. But he doesn't actually give us the club's name. Well, we have some clubs today as Ben Jacobs, a journalist from put out a tweet that got a lot of attention. And to summarize the tweet, he basically said that Lille are looking for around 60 million euros. Some of the Premier League big hitters like Chelsea, Manchester United, and Arsenal have other targets at the moment. But PSG, Napoli, West Ham, and Spurs are interested in David. And now that the CONCACAF Nations League final is over, David will seriously start exploring his options. And shortly after that, it was also mentioned that Victor Osimhen could potentially be sold for around 100 million euros, and Napoli have already lined up a replacement, and that is Jonathan David. So a lot of clubs are finally mentioned there. Alex, which one stands out to you and why?
I think the fascinating club there has to be Napoli for a multitude of reasons. I think, first of all, just their performance over the last season. They took a huge step up, won their first Serie A title in a long time, made the quarterfinals of the Champions League. They were a fun team to watch under Luciano Spalletti. You had Osimhen scoring goals for fun. You had Kvaratskhelia and the just magic he was providing. Even Chucky Lozano for a bit of CONCACAF flair. Just an overall fluid brand of soccer. Obviously, there's going to be changes. Osimhen being out the door is a huge one. Spalletti deciding to take a bit of a leave is also a huge, loss as Rudy Garcia, who's just managing in Saudi Arabia, but also has managed in France with Lyon and in Italy with Roma, and is now at the club. So it's a bit of a shakeup. So I think given all that, it'll be interesting to see, what David could bring to a Napoli. Obviously, Napoli has a relationship with Lille. They bought Osimhen from the club, and they're very happy with what he returned. So there is a clear hierarchy where Lille strikers tend to do all right at Napoli, and I think David could be a good signing to help them keep their momentum and make sure that they don't regress after such a fantastic season last year.
Yeah, it's hard to look elsewhere. For me, I've said this many times with David, there will be a domino effect. There's going to be strikers like Osimhen, Kane, Vlahovic that will have to be on the move to line up opportunities for David to then come in. But I really like the fit for Napoli for some different reasons. A lot of what you just said as well, but I think Serie A is a significant step up from Ligue 1, with no disrespect to Ligue 1. I think you could argue the top three league. The title race every single season is very entertaining, and there's an opportunity for him to get slotted in. He is going to be signed as a replacement for Victor Osimhen. You know the system, it's a 4-3-3. He just spent the entire season playing in a very attack-minded system under Paulo Fonseca with a lone striker role. So I think that boded well for him, considering the fact that he was used to playing in a two-striker system, and there's not a lot of clubs out there for him. So I really like the Napoli link for that, and playing with some of the players that you talked about could be a perfect fit. Are they going to have the same season next campaign that they had under Spalletti? Probably not, but I do think it's a perfect landing spot that will give him Champions League football, and obviously I think that he can find some success in Italy. But just to play devil's advocate, because I do think there are some other realistic opportunities, what is your feeling about PSG? Because that one for me is intriguing, because I know PSG want to change their identity a little bit. They did the flashy big stars, Messi, Mbappe, Neymar. If they go ahead and sell Mbappe this summer because he said he's not signing past his 2024 contract, we know that Messi left. Maybe there's a chance Neymar gets flipped and they start targeting some younger French players to come in, and then they grab a goal scorer who's proven in the league to come lead the line. Do you like that fit, or if it wasn't Napoli, would you want to see him maybe go to the Prem?
I'd probably lean, just based on the options, Prem, because I think PSG would be a right club for him, just wrong league, wrong time. I think it's something where you've already spent 3 seasons in Ligue 1. You've spent your time adjusting to the defenders in the league. You just had such a good goal scoring season. I think as a striker, if you want to push yourself, just changing a league, different culture, just a different club can help you push yourself outside your comfort zone. And we've seen strikers evolve by making a move like this. And I think what would be great about a move like Napoli, for example, is you go and it's the Serie A is such a different league for strikers now. It's one where it's friendlier for strikers, but even then, it's just you're playing different defenses. You're playing a lot of back threes. You're playing a lot of guys who are maybe a little more physical and relying on also their technical attributes to defensively versus what you might face in Ligue 1, where there's a lot of speedy defenders, right? Like it's different profiles, and I think as a striker, those sorts of things can help you hit another level. And of course, in Premier League, we talk all the time about the pace of play that playing in the Premier League would bring you as a striker. So I think it's something where a club like PSG in another league, you'd say absolutely, right? I think it's a chance to play at a top club, the pressure, the expectations, playing with other top players can really help you. But just the fact that it's in a league you've already spent 3 seasons in, it's something where maybe after a couple years elsewhere, you could look at PSG if they come calling. So I'd say between those options, if Spurs sell Harry Kane, and Heung-min Son sticks around and they really start to give Ante Postecoglou the kind of keys that so he can rebuild the team in his image. David seems like someone who would fit there. If not, West Ham is a sneaky option because they obviously play some fun soccer. They have guys like Lucas Paqueta. Yeah, they'll lose Declan Rice, but that's a lot of money they'll get to replace him with other quality players. They're going to be in Europa League, and who knows? Maybe from there they can vault up and be a Champions League club, and David can be the catalyst for all that.
Yeah, it's difficult because I do agree. I think that he could be a good fit at PSG. I just think he outgrew the league. The opportunity to play Champions League and to join a club with a ton of money is always intriguing, but I like the league of Serie A when you have a competition, in my opinion, spread throughout the league. You have 6 clubs realistically that could compete for the title. I like that a lot more. The Prem is difficult. It's a league that can eat you up and spit you out. So it's one that I do agree with. It has to be the right fit. Like, for example, Kane would have to leave for an opportunity to go to Tottenham. I mean, Manchester United don't have their striker yet, but I mean, that Harry Kane link could be there. Arsenal, I don't think it's the perfect fit because they have depth in that area. I mean, they literally have Balogun, who is a player that just scored just about the same amount of goals that already belongs to them in Liga. So it's very interesting for me, but I do want to get your opinion quickly before we move on Manchester United, because I do think there may come a time in the transfer window where if they don't get their guy, if Kane does stay, if Osimhen goes somewhere else, if it doesn't fall in their favor, could you see Manchester United pulling the trigger, and do you think he would be a fit?
I think he would be an Eric Ten Hag striker, someone who can help you on the defensive side of things, be able to link up, bring fluidity, have guys like Marcus Rashford play off of you, Bruno Fernandes, etc. So I think they're be fit. Obviously, it's a question of the expectations of being a striker for Manchester United. I think in terms of clubs around Europe, I mean that's about as big as it gets, just in terms of pure grandeur of fan base, of expectations, of etc. But I think there is a fit there tactically. There's obviously, if they have that hole up front, if they don't get a Kane, if they don't get an Osimhen, it could be wise for both parties, and it could be a bit more of a budget replacement, right? If you're looking at David, it's more 50-60 million versus the 150 million tag that's been throwing out on Osimhen. So I'd say it's one where if these Napoli links don't materialize, or some of these other ones, I've been fine with that Manchester United link. You just have to obviously understand the pressure of a move like that, and what that could entail for him if he starts slow and etc. And just, but that's also can be good for a player if you take that adversity the right way.
Yeah, and another Canadian that could be heading to England is Cloe Lacasse. Alex, I know that this is a player you're very high on, one that you're very excited for the upcoming Women's World Cup. Arsenal sent Benfica a record offer for Cloe Lacasse. She has been crushing it in Portugal. She's probably ready for that step up. What do you make of the move, and do you think Arsenal's the right club for her at this stage in her career?
Yeah, it's fascinating because these links have been there for a while. It's really the first time we heard of it was in January. So it's obviously something where Arsenal is looking to bolster their attacking ranks. And Lacasse is such a great profile. I mean, we saw it for Benfica, just dominated the league like 4 years in a row, won a boatload of trophies, was the league's MVP this past year. Scored over 30 goals in all competitions, got a taste of the Champions League, finished second in the Champions League Golden Boot race despite not playing in any of the knockout stage games and having to play against Barcelona and Bayern, two top clubs in the group stage. So she's shown that she can score at the Portuguese level, but also had a taste of, other top teams in Europe and did well. So this makes a lot of sense for Arsenal to bolster. She can play out wide and up front. So she's a versatile player. I think at Arsenal, it seems like she'd start out as a depth option and hopefully push her way into more of a regular role as the season goes along. And I'm curious to see where this develops. She has 1 year left on her contract, so Arsenal's obviously going to have to pony up in a record bid for a Portuguese player. It shows that that's the sort of money that's going to take. But I think based on everything she's shown at Benfica, she's ready for a step up. And for Arsenal, this is a very fascinating profile for them.
Now, we've seen a lot of Canadians go to England and find success. Some have not found success. Do you think she had these type of conversations with Jessie Fleming, maybe Buchanan, and some other players to kind of get a feel of what the league is like?
Oh, absolutely. I think Canada, it helps to see so many Canadians in the league. And for the most part, they've established themselves well. There's a good core of Canadian players there now between Jessie Fleming, Kadisha Buchanan, Shalina Zadorsky's obviously been there for a while. Plus, you join a Canadian like Sabrina D'Angelo, which could maybe help your transition a bit at Arsenal. The fact that D'Angelo has been there for half a season, so I think it's something where, especially the way Lacasse plays, she's obviously got the technical ability. She can run, but she's comfortable pressing and can get into those duels. I think she should be able to make that step up. And the fact that there's so many Canadians there, it only helps the credence behind an idea like that. All right, and it's time now for the Canadian Quick Hits section. And leading us off is a very fun story out of Portland, written by Ryan Clark of the Oregonian, who apparently Dayne St. Clair recruited Zach McGraw, the Canadian men's national team. McGraw told Clark that after a recent matchup between the Portland Timbers and Minnesota United, that McGraw, his teammate Eric Williamson, and St. Clair, who was roommates with Williamson in college, went out for a little dinner after the game, and they picked, each other's brains. McGraw was asking about his experience with Canada. St. Clair was talking about what it was like being at a World Cup. McGraw told St. Clair that he was actually eligible for Canada. St. Clair set him up with the right people to talk to, and alas, lo and behold, McGraw has been called up to the Gold Cup for this summer. So what a story that is. Other tidbits from the story, which, by the way, if you haven't, please do go read. It's a great story. But there was one about McGraw's mom being very excited about her son representing Canada. She is the Canadian link. They used to go up to summers in Alberta and on Vancouver Island every year. So obviously he's very familiar with the country. He jokes saying she's a little dramatic. She was crying, screaming, and instantly wanted to go to Facebook when she heard about the news. McGraw had to remind her, you can't post anything on Facebook yet. Please don't. But she was really excited and, excited that he gets this chance to showcase the Canadian side of him. And speaking of that Canadian side, he certainly has leaned into it. He obviously posted a Canadian flag recently on a story, and he says he watches a lot of hockey. He says, he was quoted saying, a lot of people don't know that I watch hockey too. There's more connection to Canada than people would think than just by looking at me. So McGraw, newest Canadian dual national, he is leaning into it. I'm sure we'll see him chugging maple syrup on his story sooner rather than later.
Canada announced their 2023 Gold Cup squad this week, and yes, it's headlined by Zach McGraw, but there are some other interesting faces in the squad, including Ali Ahmed of the Vancouver Whitecaps, Jason Russell-Rowe from the Columbus Crew, Moise Bombito of the Colorado Rapids, who ends up staying in after being a last-minute call to the Nations League, plus some familiar faces. It's a strong squad that should be able to compete.
Canada also found out the completed version of their Group D at the 2023 Gold Cup is Guadeloupe beat Guyana in the preliminaries to book their spot. That means Canada will play them at BMO Field on June 27th to kick off their tournament before facing Guatemala and Cuba. This, interestingly, isn't the greatest set of news for Canada, however, as Guadeloupe is one of the 5 nations in CONCACAF that isn't recognized by FIFA as it is a district of France. That means that Canada won't be able to get some of the juicy FIFA points that playing in a tournament offers, that it is a higher multiplier. And this is also, interestingly, the fourth straight Gold Cup that Canada has had such a conundrum, as they've played French Guiana in 2017 and then Martinique back-to-back in 2019 and 2021. So a bit of bad luck in terms of Canada's quest to push up the FIFA rankings, which is irrelevant for the World Cup because there'll be pot one as host, but could affect the Copa America rankings.
In the midst of a strong first season with the Washington Spirit, Gabrielle Carle has been rewarded for her play with a new deal. She signs an extension with the club until 2025 with an option for 2026. Despite looking likely that she will miss out on the World Cup, she remains a long-term piece with the Olympics coming up next year. That is all the time we have for in this edition of Canadians Abroad. I really hope you all enjoyed it, and if you did, be sure to tune in for next week's update.